It is 5:58, and call this meeting to order, the building committee meeting. Item 2.1, construction update.
Yes, sir. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call Mr. Alex up so that he can give us an update on what we are experiencing and what they have found at the PAC and the NAT as far as the geo piers and our foundation.
Good evening, Mr. Moreno, members of the board, Mrs. Superintendent Savignon. So, from the report we had a couple of weeks ago, late last week, we did receive some information, much needed critical information from Davila's surveyor, J&H. We'd been asking for this information for a while, and we finally got that information. As was preliminary reported to the board about 2 weeks ago, Rio Delta, through their surveys, confirmed that in many cases geopiers are not aligned with structural foundation. And this poses significant construction issues and compromises the structural integrity of both buildings. Based on this preliminary information and the limited information that was provided by Rio Delta at the time, it was inconclusive as to the scope and breadth of misalignment. This is partially because we were looking for more information from of course, J&H. So we've received that information now, and so I'd like to have Ivan come up here and talk a little bit about, he's the surveyor for the district. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Ivan Garcia with Rio Delta Engineering. Like Mike was describing, we got additional information from the surveyor who did the stakeout of the geopiers initially and the building corners. This was going to allow us to accurately define the locations of where the intended center of those geopiers was supposed to be and see if there were any discrepancies between either AutoCAD files and things of that nature related to survey. So we did get the information. We got 2 files. One was for the construction staking of the geopiers on center. Basically, each one of the piers were staked out on center so the contractor can do their drilling operations for each one, and that's one of the files that we got. The other one was the second setup, which is after the geopiers were done, where the building corners of the actual foundation slab were staked out. So again, when we got the information, we, I guess, continued reviewing and comparing to the information that we previously got in the field, and we found practically the same results, that the geopiers were in a different location than where the intended building corners location was going to be. One thing that was very beneficial from this exercise and getting that information is that, as you recall, we were only to accurately locate some geopiers that were exposed, right? There were some areas of the buildings that were already poured, and we were only we were only able to get to a few of them. With this, because when we incorporated the CAD file and superimposed the points that we picked up, most of the points, not all, if not all of the points that we got, landed almost at the center of those geopier locations that were staked out. So with this, we can safely assume, or it's safer to assume, the location of the other piers that were covered, right? So that was very beneficial through the exercise, and this information was provided to the design team, and they're evaluating that, right? But as far as the survey is concerned, we found practically the same results. It's just that we got better understanding of where the other geopiers are, and at the same time, we confirm control points. As I was describing last time, whenever we do a survey and we're going to go stake out a building or something, we have control points on site that we adjust to, right, when we start doing the stakeout. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that those control points that we found on site and that we used to confirm locations were the same ones used by the surveyor when they staked it out. And they landed right on. So there was no issue as far as control points. It's an issue of misplacement of the buildings when the stakeout were created and then performed on the field. So I don't know if I got too technical, but I'm here to entertain any questions that the board might have.
So I have a question. So Mr. Alex said that, what is going on right now with the foundation not being on the geo piers, it has been, I guess, detrimental to the structural integrity of the building. So the geopiers are in a certain location, the foundation's in another location. Is that for all geopiers, most geopiers? Were you able to get that granular?
Imagine this. This is the geopier outline, and the building outline is right here.
Okay, so
So
all,
in reference to each other, they're all in the wrong location.
okay.
In varying degrees.
Yes.
Right.
He's given an
Might be a
average,
little-
he's given an average, but to varying degrees they're off, yes.
Okay.
So I guess.
Go ahead.
So I guess my question is, we've been talking about this for a while now, so I guess my question is, so the geopiers these contractors were contracted to come in and follow a design or follow let's just say a scope of practice. What I don't understand is, where is the geopier company here to have this conversation to see how they're gonna remedy this whole situation, or what are our options to fix it? That's,
He's going to get into the options. I think they're still examining options, but that's part of the report. Am I correct, Mr.
Yes, I mean,
Alex?
we've put together a list of possible remedies, and we're now going to begin discussions with Davila Construction. And so Davila needs to really look at these surveys really carefully as they work with us to employ possible remedies. They should explore perhaps the following remedies, and that's the underpinning with additional concrete piers and helical piers, underpinnings with compaction grout, adding additional geopiers, increase the size of existing foundational elements, and I think you talked about that, Mr. Lopez, at the last meeting, and demolition and reconstruction of any or all foundations to realign the existing geopiers with the newly installed ones. And that'll be in the report for y'all.
When are we expected to get the report?
I think in the next day or so, yes. It's basically in draft form right now. I'm reading it to you, yes.
Okay.
Dr. Cruz, just to clarify, the report that the board will get will be one that relates to the diagnosis of where the building is in relationship to the geopiers. The district is working, and to answer Trustee Lopez's question, is working to obtain information about corrective measures. And there may be a variety of things that could happen. The district could rely upon some of its own structural engineers and architects in consultation with Rio Delta, potentially creating a remediation plan. Alternatively, it's possible that if those folks want to defer to an outside company, that the district might conceivably engage a foundation remediation contractor specifically. But that's where that is. So and then additionally, the district intends to put it to Davila and say, you need to present a repair plan to the district for what they believe will get the issues fixed and make the building safe.
So by when do you think we can get a plan? A couple of days?
Just a couple days, yes. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Our goal is to, during the regular board meeting, go into our executive session and really discuss, what are the next logical steps we need to take. I know that, and I'm making an assumption, I know that their buildings or the foundation is not in the correct place, that they missed all the piers, but it depends. Like you said, some of them can bear more weight than others, and some would need to be totally replaced, as where others may be salvageable. But I do have one question, because one of your solutions was cement piers, right? So the drill piers, right? Was one of your solutions additional geopiers?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
to get back underneath the slab and correctly place a geopier that had originally been misaligned, so.
And so that would also depend on the structure and the weight that needs to be bared, or is the drill pier comparable to the geopier?
Most
Oh,
geopiers are all the same, yes.
Okay.
So we would just enhance the structural characteristics under the ground with new geopiers, if that makes sense.
Mr. Alex, I've got a question. In the last board meeting, you stated that you reported in March of 2022 that there was foundation problems. So there being foundation problems a year ago, and we're still having foundation problems, correct? I mean, it's still continuing?
They're different than those. I mean, we've had foundational issues back since March. And before those issues were fixed, those issues were fixed. But we didn't know that there was a misalignment issue until February of this year. So.
Right, but what I'm getting at is, if we've already had issues for a whole year now, right? That was March of 2022, you said, and here we passed March of 2023. But if we've had issues and we really don't have the full structure built, don't you think we'd have worse issues going, since we've already missed the geo piers?
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
What I'm asking you, or basically saying that if you had foundation problems back in 2022, right?
Those
And-
issues have been fixed, though, and let me be clear, those issues that we saw.
But
back
there were
in-
foundation issues. Was
They were
it,
foundational issues, yes.
was it because we missed the geo piers?
No.
No, it had nothing to, okay,
It had
that's,
nothing- It had nothing to
it
do.
had nothing to do with it.
These were honeycombing, not the correct pour chemistry, so to speak, and we had to re-pour, those kinds of things, yes.
Gotcha.
So if I recall right now that you mentioned that word, you had to re-pour, so you basically had to redo it, right? And that's what you mean by
Pull some
re-pouring?
concrete out
Right.
and then demolish and
Demolish
re-pour.
it and
Oh, so
redo
you
it.
removed what was wrong, and
Yes,
you just
yes.
completely rebuilt. Gotcha. Okay.
Mr. Corona, another way to say it, the contractor has had issues with its foundation sub in the past, and those issues have been fixed. So there was an issue with a wall that did not pass testing. It was demolished and replaced. There was an issue with the part of the foundation around one of the rooms that had been constructed that had to be removed and replaced. But those are issues that were located and fixed.
Which had nothing to do with stability as far as the weight that the
Nothing
whole
to do with
foundation.
geopier alignment, no. Yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
And in fairness, the observation that I spoke to Mike about was those issues with that sub, in our opinion, should have given the contractor an indication that they needed to be careful and really watch over what was happening with that sub, to be honest.
Great, thank you.
I also know that I gave the board a draft timeline, and on those, there were two issues that were brought forth, which one was the wall, and one was also the removal of the foundation, and then a re-pour that was required at the time. And that was something that I think we found out after it had transpired. But again, it has nothing to do with the geo piers and not knowing that it was located, the foundation was located in the right area.
Any other questions?
Any other question from board members?
I have a question, one
Go for
more.
it. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think, and maybe this is too much to ask, if you have an assumption about this, what does this do to the timeline?
Well, we've been stopped for 3 or 4 weeks now. So we've lost, let's say, a month already. We still need time to come up with some concrete, pardon the pun, solutions. So I say right now, we're at least 4 months behind, And then,
Four-
and if we have large-scale demolition, it could be 6 months behind. So beyond that, we really can't say because we don't know how many geopiers are gonna have to be addressed. And we'll know that as we move forward.
So 6 months from the June 24th date?
That makes sense to me, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just to let the board know, the district has advised Davila in writing formally of the preliminary findings
That's correct.
from the district surveyor. The follow-up information that we receive will be transmitted to Davila, and we'll ask for their comments and solutions. And then the district has placed the Davila's performance bonding entity on notice of the issue too. So we're taking this very seriously.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, 2.2, review discussion of Elon Musk grant for excess controls.
Yes, so we
Thank you,
have Mr. Flores here tonight. We did receive some funding from the Musk Foundation, and we are going to use it to secure our buildings. And we have Mr. Flores here tonight that is going to walk you through some of the processes that are already underway. So if you want to start with the initial endowment amount and go from there.
Yes,
Thank
sir. Well, good evening, Board President Moreno, Superintendent Ms. Servillon, and Board of Trustees. Today, we're going over the Elon Musk Foundation grant that we did receive. As the last conversation we had a grant from the state that granted us some amount of $461,000. That grant was used for the access card readers, access controls that we started to look at. The total amount that we had was about 147 access card readers. We have 3 phases that we were looking at. This happens to be the second phase, which is currently being worked on. We received a grant from Elon Musk's foundation, and that grant is $388,000. So that grant is going to be used towards securing our campus doors. So we will continue to purchase more of the card readers, and so you will have card readers at more of the doors for every campus, thereby somewhat eliminating the key option. So we're going to be doing that. We're also going to be looking at some of the camera systems that we also have in place to be able to have, through KLC, to be able to have the access points and be able to unlock as well. So this is the Musk Foundation grant that we did receive. We do have the key fobs in here, so that we've also received a grant for. So part of this, with all the instructional pieces, the improvement of our safety for our school district has increased with the exterior door pieces of our campuses and instructional facilities. So just to make sure that you have an idea of what we're looking at, the Access Monitor Cast, the gray little strip right there is the actual camera, and that they can communicate through the front office, and they will be buzzed in to be able to come in. So any visitor coming to a campus will have to go through that camera, basically speak with somebody who's at the front desk to actually buzz them and let them to get in to the campus. And so we've controlled the accessibility to the campuses. This one, when we look at VMA, if you recall, and I'll use that as an example, you have a long walkway that leads through, and that was actually opened. And so once we installed this, it stopped. Everybody stops at the door to prevent anybody from just walking in. Down on the bottom shows you the 2 monitor systems that they receive on our end to be able to see who's out there and be able to do the communication that way. And of course, the key fob that you have and the maglock that you have up on the top to actually secure the door. This is actually a view of what we see with our system. Through that piece, we're able to see those that have the maglocks, and we can actually deactivate them to open up a door if we need to. So that is the piece that we do. Up on the top right-hand corner, you see a view of one of the campuses, and you're able to see a side view, so you have a pretty good view of who's coming to the door for all purposes to make sure that our students and our staff are safe.
Mr. Flores, if I may interject, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
So these magnetic cards that we're looking at implementing are basically keyless entries to the building, the different access points, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
So once you're in the building itself, are there also more or additional entries, like to go from an office to an office? Or or are we just focusing on the entryways?
We're focused on the exterior doors.
Okay.
So the purpose of this grant with the Musk grant, Foundation grant and the state grant, that combined gives us about $800,000 to focus on a lot more of our exterior doors. So initially, when I came up here, we were looking at a couple of doors on the exterior pieces. Now we are focused on placing more access controls through more exterior doors output. As far as the safety piece on the inside, as far as our doors are concerned, they are still locked and secured as per the state guidelines that we have. So these are going to be all focused on the exterior door. Now, there are some campuses that we have focused and looked at that, you know, Chief and I are still walking around campuses to see how we're going to tie in some of this other funding. And so some of the campuses actually have almost their own little area that we need to put some of these access card readers or access monitors on the inside that prevent anybody from going into, take for instance, if this was a hallway, that they won't be able to go straight through. They actually will come to an area that they can't just push open. So,
Are we talking about some, like the band halls and things like that?
no, it's more of the long stretch of hallways, so some of the elementary campuses that you might walk in. As you walk in, you might have a set of doors, double doors, that lead into an area.
For example, the vestibules?
Somewhat like a vestibule
Somewhat,
setup
right?
that they had, and so we are placing some of these access readers to those doors to prevent anybody from gaining access into a hallway.
Okay. And then I guess my follow-up question would be in case of a power outage, all that is shot. So we go back to manual opening the doors and correct?
Yes,
keys.
so they will still look at the secure of the doors, so if we do have a power outage, we do get the notification. Our officers are automatically at the campus, and they will start running through secure procedures if we need to at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, so Mr. Moreno just brought up a good point.
Yes, sir.
If we lose power, though, they still remain locked. They're still not accessible, correct?
Some of them are not, and I can actually bring Chief up here to give some further clarity on it, but some of them actually are tied into just a button to press the button to open it, but not necessarily to lock. So they're opposite of a key. So we don't have an access or a situation where we can't unlock the door to actually access the building from the outside. So we still have an accessibility. A lot of the doors, you still are able to press through on the inside to be able to exit out.
Right, but for entry purposes, like he was saying, or he
Yes.
was referring, in case we lose power, they still can't get access in,
We're working
correct?
with two different type of doors, ones that are
Oh, I got
magnetics and others that run with strikes. So like the one in the front here, it's a strike plate. So if we were to lose power, it still remains locked.
Okay,
So we just our maintenance personnel needs to go in there in the company to view what type of doors we have.
Understood.
And what type of system we're gonna be installing.
got you, okay.
You know, with every single door every campus that we have, every door is a little different that we have to adjust to, which is part of what we're having to go with our maintenance crew to just make sure.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, so other than that, these are the phases that I just spoke about. And I apologize, but phase one, which is the completion of the front doors, that's the camera access that I just showed you. Those have been completed. Phase two is 147 doors that we are using the state safety grant to actually incorporate. At the same time, we're also looking at finalizing that, hopefully by mid-September. And then we're starting to look at phase three. So we are now in the process of going campus. Today we visited 5 campuses, and we plan on continuing to go. We're speaking with the principals to get their insight as to what we're needing to do. But phase three is going to be the continuation with the Musk Foundation grant for this project.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Flores.
Thank you.
Next item, 3.1, committee concerns. Next item, 4.1, adjournment. It's 6:23.